Welcome back to the pulse here on Joy News, and let's talk about the youth, because youth development is central to Ghana's national developmental agenda. Successive governments have on different occasions introduced concepts and constructive interventions in a bid to address the needs of the youth and, more importantly, to stem down the country's unemployment rate. Now, in spite of all these interventions, a lot of Ghana's youth still remain left of these initiatives. For the Youth Bridge Foundation, the surest and more sustainable way to promoting youth development is decoupling the Ministry of Youth and Sports. How so, and what does the fact show? Joyce Nyame is Programs Manager at the Youth Bridge Foundation, and she's here with me in the studio. Joyce, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. So,
you want the Ministry of Youth and Sports decoupled. Yes. You want attention paid to youth and another attention paid to sports. Exactly. Now, yesterday, when the former President John Mahama visited students at Wisconsin University, he said that in the event that he's elected, one of the things that he would do will be to establish the Youth Development Ministry, solely responsible for addressing the concerns and challenges of the youth. So clearly, this falls in line with what you are pushing. Precisely. And why is it so?
So over the years, since the ministry has been in existence, the Ministry of Sport, Youth and Sports, you realize that if you do an analysis, for instance, on financial allocations,
right,
most of the allocations for the ministry has been on sports.
And even sports, football and Black Stars.
So regardless of what particular sports, we are talking about the youth development. And then we know that when it comes to youth development, it's not just only on sports. Yes, some can give analogies of other things that other ministries are doing, but we are saying that it's high time we have a focused ministry on youth so that we can have leadership for youth concerns, so that we can have people we can go to when it comes to youth development.
No, but do we really need a separate ministry before concerns of the youth are addressed? We've had NAPCO, Youth Employment Agency, and all those things that were put in to address what you may consider to be the feeding challenges facing the Ghanaian youth. And so it may not necessarily be the establishment of a ministry.
There is a need for most of these interventions to be informed by engagement with the young people. So you mentioned NAPCO. It's not just for the young people. There are other diversities of people who benefit from NAPCO, right, even though majority are the youth. Because, I mean, when you come to Ghana, most of us are young people.
Right.
So if you find most people benefiting from NAPCO being young people, it doesn't necessarily mean this is a targeted intervention for the young people. We think it's high time, as a country, we have a focused attention on youth. Yes, some people may have the other notion that there are more ministries and we are trying to cut budgets.
Right.
But we think the youth ministry is not something we must cut. If they are supposed to be cut, it's not the youth ministry.
And you made the same call in 2016?
Yes.
Not much was done in this direction.
Yes.
And you are back on this matter. At least you've heard from the NDC.
Yes.
Appearing to be...
and it's interesting because mostly what we do is during every election year, we try to ascertain some of the aspirations of the young people. So this particular issue came up in 2016 during the elections.
Right.
Yes, and then most young people were calling for that. And that came out from an analysis we did on the budget in 2016, where we found out that in 2016, the allocation for the ministry, 70% was on sports and 30% for youth development. So we thought...
woefully inadequate.
Yes. We thought in 2016, there was a need to have a national conversation on decoupling the ministry. We did some engagements with ministries and other relevant stakeholders. So it was interesting that 2024 election year, this conversation is coming up, and we are more interested in trying to let people understand and garners more people to go for the need for us to decouple.
I'm more interested in the ingredients that you are proposing, more especially when, you know, we have seen reports after reports. We've heard comments from President Akufo-Addo, the National Security Minister. Everybody appears to understand that the biggest threat to our democracy is youth unemployment. Yet, in terms of addressing it, it's been, I think snail pace may even be, you know, a better way to describe how we are approaching it. Your ingredients and your proposal, tell me about it and how you think it will help address the issue going forward?
So going forward, we think, one, there is a need to decouple the ministry so that we have a delegated ministry that will, one, coordinate and facilitate the interventions towards addressing youth unemployment. Interestingly enough, it's important we realize the value of this decoupling, because if we are saying that the young people, the majority of the country's population, there is a need for us to understand the diversity in the young people. So for instance, when you mention NAPCO is just a hardcore intervention that is addressing unemployment, but not unemployment for the young people. If you want to delve into the iniquities of unemployment of young people, there is a need for us to understand why there's unemployment. We are talking about our educational system. There's lots of dropouts in the system.
Absolutely.
How do these young people who drop out from JSS, how do we make sure that they are being skilled enough to even get certain employment at that level? How do we make sure that the people churning out from the senior high schools who are not absorbed into the universities are able to do something? These are all things that we think if we have a dedicated ministry,
they will help deal with it.
They will help deal with it. And then these ad hoc are not being able to deal with it.
But again, what about the individuals we have in very responsible positions? In fact, in this government, you can count a lot of young people in very, very, very respectable and responsible positions. Some are ministers, deputy ministers, serving as board chair. We've also been told by the NDC Flabera, for example, that he will appoint the youngest cabinet if elected in the upcoming election. So you have young people who understand the concerns of the youth, and they are in very, influential positions. Is it a case that when they get there, they forget about the people they were with, and they don't initiate programs that addresses the people that they align with? So
for the raw course, yes, there are a lot of young people in some of these positions, but it's woefully inadequate. And then the other point is the fact that there is a need for conscious effort to make sure that these young people in this position are able to fight for the cause of the young people.
Right.
There is one thing when the system is crippling you in doing the things that you have to do. Okay. There is a need for policy. There is a need for conducive architecture, governance architecture, that makes sure that these young people are able to talk about the things they want to talk about, demand the change that they want to change, and then there is a need for attitudinal change.
Right.
Because, you bear with me, you go into a space and they see you as a young person and the way they relate to you is different. So all these are things that we need to look at to make sure the youth development agenda is fully harnessed.
Right. I would like to say thank you very much because